I've known Deb for as long as I've been with the organization, 15 years. And Deb and Kathy Brandfast, who are, I believe Kathy's on the webinar today, they did original research here in Pittsburgh that long ago. They were really kind of right in the forefront of the beginning of exercise and Parkinson's disease and the importance of it. So Deb is going to talk with you today about the need and the ability to stay active. So thanks for being here, Deb.
Thank you, David. It's so exciting to be here, and hello to everybody. And thank you for spending the afternoon with us. This is a great webinar. I'm really excited. As David said, I am a physical therapist, and I teach at the University of Pittsburgh in the Department of Physical Therapy. And today I'm going to talk to you about getting back to being active. So the benefits of exercise has been well established. We know that exercise increases your energy, it can strengthen your muscles and strengthen your heart. And when doing weight-bearing exercises, such as walking, it can prevent bone loss. Exercise improves your quality of sleep, and who doesn't need that? It also improves your outlook, and studies have shown that the immune system gets a boost from exercise. And research has clearly stated that by doing regular exercise helps reduce the severity of Parkinson's disease symptoms. So how do you get started? Or should I say, how do you get restarted? Many of us have had our exercise programs turned upside down with the challenges of the recent times. We've had to stay home. Our gyms have been closed. And our exercise classes that we have taken together have been canceled. And this can be very stressful and also can be very difficult to maintain motivation to exercise. We find ourselves sitting a whole lot anymore. And I don't know about you, but I find myself getting my activity by going to the kitchen to get a snack. So, but the good news is that with appropriate pacing, we can get back on the road again to our destination of becoming active. So I often get asked this question: what's the best exercise that I can do? Should I do an aerobic conditioning exercise? And that's any type of activity that speeds up your heart and your breathing while you're moving at a regular pace. Or should I do strengthening exercise, which helps build muscle or flexibility? What's the best exercise that I can do? So we have a poll that we're going to launch. And the poll is what is the best exercise to do is one that you enjoy. Is that true or is that false?
And we're going to give a couple more seconds here for folks to respond. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, and great job, great job. So let's talk about that. Yeah, so it is true. You want to choose an activity that is fun for you. Exercise is movement, and as long as it's something that you like, you're going to stick with it. Consistency is critical, and if you don't like something, you're not going to stick with it. So it's real important to find something that you enjoy. So some examples are such as dancing, Tai Chi, yoga, cycling, and walking have all been shown to have health benefits and have also been shown to be help with patients with Parkinson's disease symptoms. But it's also been shown that it's not so much the type of task that you're doing, rather it's that you're participating in some form of physical activity over being sedentary. That's the critical component. We just need to get you to move. So I know we've been kind of out of our routine lately with COVID-19, and it's changed our routine to exercise also. And this is the time to sit back and say, I got to get back. I have to reestablish my routine. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing you have to do is you got to get a goal. What do you want to do? What can exercise or activity help you reach? Some of my patients have told me they want to have a goal of being able to walk with their wife or husband around the block. Some patients have told me their goal is to be able to do lawn work, yard work. And that's great goals. Then you want to work on making a plan. And when you make your plan, you don't want to have a huge plan to go and reach and try to do everything all in one week. You take small baby steps. You set very specific goals and you work towards reaching those goals. And probably one of the most important things, and probably the most difficult for all of us, is finding time in your schedule. What you really want to do is establish your routine that it becomes a habit. So every morning I wake up, I brush my teeth, I put on my walking shoes, and out the door I go, and I do my walking. I make it into a habit. I don't even think about it anymore. This is what is really important for it to become part of your lifestyle. Another thing I want to talk about when you're thinking about making your schedule and fitting into your day is you might want to think about your medication schedule and do your exercises around your medication schedule, as you might be able to move a little bit better. But again, you need to have a goal, make a plan, and find time in your day. Another fun thing, I was talking to somebody and they said, well, I actually have a lot of time, and time always has been a #1 barrier for exercise. But when I started talking to them, I realized that though we might have time, we tend to push it back. Oh, I'll do my exercise in an hour. I'll do my exercise after this TV show. I have time now. And that's just going to be you're not going to do it just as much. You need to make your schedule and stick to it as best that you can. So before we hit the green button, we go green, I want you to think about how do we really reactivate? How do we get back into the groove of exercising? And it's really important to know that there's a ramping up phase. You don't just go back to where you were before you took off. You have to progress slow. Start where it makes sense to you, and then you build your activity up gradually. We don't want to push it too much. And also progress at a pace that's comfortable to you. Not everybody's going to progress at the same pace. You take it at what you can do. And that's how we get back into the game. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you restart or start up a walking program. But before I do that, I want to say, why walking? Why did I choose walking? Well, walking not only has numerous of general health benefits, and also walking has been shown to really help people with Parkinson's disease. We have lots of evidence that says that it does. Walking is also a very attainable option for exercise. You don't need to go to a gym. You don't need to have expensive equipment. And really, all you need is a really good pair of walking shoes. We're going to talk about that actually in just a minute to go out and start your walk. Also with walking, it's possible to maintain your social distancing recommendations that have been given to us. For example, when you go out for your walk, you can maintain 6 feet from the other person. So let's think about our walking program. I like to think of walking in 3 parts. The first part is what I call your warm-up. It's when you walk slowly, you get your body heated up. You get your body warmed up, ready to go. You do that for about 5 minutes. And then you think about the middle part, which is where we really want to work on increasing your speed. And from starting to get back into it, do it for about 5 minutes. And then you always have a cool down. So you're going to walk slowly for about 5 minutes. So when walking and thinking about walking, we want to think about quality and think about our proper walking form. You might notice that you might shuffle your feet when you're walking. You might have a forward stoop posture, or you might not swing your arms. These are things that we can also work on, the quality of your walking while you're doing your walking program. So here's some helpful tips. Maintain proper posture. You try to land on your heel of your foot. And when you're thinking about walking and swinging your arms, try to avoid tensing up your shoulders and also avoid swinging your arms across your body. You want them to go forwards and backwards. So be smart, be safe when you're walking. Stay hydrated. It's really important to hydrate. Also, we are now getting into the summer months. It's a beautiful day outside. The sun is shining. You don't want to forget your sunscreen when you're walking. And you also want to pay attention to the temperature. Walking in the middle of the day might not be the best time. So you need to structure and go back to your schedule and plan accordingly. Be safe. Bring a phone on your walk. And also, I find it very helpful to let someone know where you're going and when you're going to be back, so they have an idea of where you are at when you're walking. So now we got the idea of our three components of walking. We're going to warm up first by doing a nice light walk, get our muscles moving. We're going to exercise. We're going to speed it up to a little bit more of a brisker walk in the middle, and then we're going to cool down. We're going to watch our quality of gait, because walking not only can help us with our cardiovascular fitness, but it can also help us with our quality of gait. But how are we going to do it? Well, you're going to try to walk for at least 3 to 4 times a week. And you can really walk on most days. And it's really important, again, to think about that ramping up phase. To avoid stiff or sore muscles or joints, start off gradually. Do what you can. Know where you are. And then how we're going to progress the walking is you're going to add 2 to 3 minutes a week to that middle portion. So you're always going to keep that 5 minutes warm up. You're always going to keep that 5 minutes cool down, but it's the middle part that we're going to start we're going to start by adding our more time to. And and I recommend 2 to 3 minutes per week. And before you know it, you're going to be walking faster, farther, and for longer periods of time. So I think we have a poll. Do we have a poll there? Okay. So what are some guidelines that are given to us to exercise? Well, I'm talking about aerobic activity this time. And aerobic, again, is we're describing as any activity that speeds up your heart and your breathing when you're moving your body kind of at a constant pace. And the guidelines recommend for patients with Parkinson's to perform an aerobic activity for 3 to 4 days a week. And really, you can do most days a week. How hard should you be walking? Well, to start with, you want to go fairly light to start, or if you have advanced Parkinson's disease. But then you do want to build up to somewhat hard for people with mild to moderate Parkinson's disease. And how much should we be doing? What is the recommended guidelines? It's 150 minutes of moderate activity a week. So here's a second poll that we have for you, and I want you to take a moment, read it, and then answer it accordingly. But any physical activity is better than none. But most of the health organizations recommend a minimum of 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise a week for health benefits. Is that true or is that false?
We'll give you a couple more seconds to respond. And with 50% of the votes in, 100% said true.
And that's exactly right. And it's been kind of well accepted number. Now the key is though that what does it mean to be moderate and to have moderate intensity? And 150 minutes can be kind of daunting. But let's talk about our level of intensity first. When you're looking at that moderate intensity, what does that mean? Well, I tell my patients that when you think of moderate intensity, it's a brisk walk, like you're trying to catch a bus that's about to leave. You should be feeling, your exertion should be feeling what you would describe as somewhat hard. I also like to tell my patients to think about a test called the talk test. And this is a really good way to start gauging how much intensity or how hard you're working. So if you can talk, and you say yes, you're probably working at light or moderate activity. But if you have trouble even carrying on a conversation, you're probably working at high intensity activity, or what we call very, very hard. Can you sing? If you can sing, and yes, you're probably still working light activity. But if you have difficulty singing a verse, maintaining a song here, you're at what we call moderate level of intensity. And of course, you'd have difficulty also with singing with high intensity. With moderate intensity, your breathing rate becomes often and deep, and you start to break out in a sweat about after 10 minutes of activity. So these are some ways to start to gauge. So as you're walking or doing your activity and you're in that middle section of your walk, you want to try to aim for that brisk or that moderate intensity. You want to feel like it's somewhat hard for you. So again, you should be able to talk, but have difficulty singing. Your breathing should be often and deep, and you should start to break out into a little bit of a sweat about after 10 minutes. So our third poll, 10 minutes of exercise 3 times a day you will get the same cardiovascular benefits as doing all your exercises 30 minutes at one time. Is that true or is that false?
And the votes are coming in. We'll give it a couple more seconds. Let a few more folks get in here. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have 50% in, and 83% said true. 18% said false.
Yeah. So it really varies to what you want to do, but it is actually true. You could spread the minutes out, doing 3 10-minute chunks. I call them nuggets, exercise nuggets, or if you will, your little exercise snacks. So if you do a 10-minute exercise snack, and then you go and you do something else, and you go back a different part of the day, and you do another 10-minute exercise snack or an exercise nugget, and then another one, that adds up. You can spread it out amongst your days. And it's no problem also to do it all at one time if you're capable and able. So that's the beauty of it all. So good walking starts with good foot care, and good foot care starts with a good fitting shoe. So how do you know what type of shoes to get? Well, first of all, that is pretty personal. You really need to try the shoes on, see how they fit, see how they work with you. But let me give you some tips and some guidelines. You should wear shoes with thick, flexible soles that will cushion your feet and absorb the shock. If you have a high arch, you'll want to look for shoes that are with more cushion to them. If you have a flat arch, and a lot of us do, you'll want to look for shoes with more support. And when you're purchasing your shoes or you're ordering your shoes, there's usually a description that describes if they're more for stability or support, or if they're more for cushioning to help you out. But really, I recommend you need to try them out. You also don't want to have a shoe that's really snug around your toes. That is what you really want to think about when you're when you're getting a shoe, is you want to have it be about 1 inch from your longest toe to the sneaker, or about the length of your thumbnail between your toe and the toe box of the shoe, so that you have some room. You also want to make sure that your heel is secure, and that the shoe wraps around the midsole comfortably, but yet gives all that room in the toe box. Don't forget about the socks. Socks are come in various thicknesses. So I also recommend that when you're going to get shoes, if you're getting new ones, that you bring the socks that you're probably going to be wearing, because that will help gauge your how you feel in the shoe and your size that you're going to get. When you're thinking about socks, though, you want to make sure that you get a fabric that can whisk away the perspiration from your feet. Another little tip that I have found to be helpful that I would like to share with you is, many times when I'm walking in the middle of the day or after I'm standing a lot, my feet swell. And so it might be a time that you want to go also, and when you're looking for your new shoes, is to have them look at that size when your feet are probably at their most swollen. And then that way you can ensure that you get a good fit. That's just a little tip. You also got to think about the right clothes. So we talked about your feet. Now we got to think about our clothes. Now we're heading into the summer months, so we really want to make sure that we get clothes that have a synthetic fiber that will allow for whisking of your sweat. But you also recommend that you think about dressing in layers. You can always take them off. And then as you're working on your exercise program and you're progressing on your exercise program, what you're going to find as you go into the fall is that you might want to start thinking about layering. So dress for the weather. It's really important to keep that noted. And also, a little side note, you also want to maybe dress for where you're going to be walking too. So think about protection of your legs if you're walking through different types of terrain. So when should I stop and think? Well, don't exercise if you're not feeling well, and really don't overexert yourself. And you should really stop exercising and call a doctor if you're dizzy, nauseated, have severe shortness of breath, and pain in your chest. And as a matter of fact, any questions or concerns that you might have, or if you have a different medical condition or questions regarding starting or continuing your exercise program, it's always good to talk to your doctor. So we talked about walking and gave you a good idea about walking, where I specifically talked about walking outside. If you have a treadmill, you can walk using a treadmill, but I chose to talk about outside because not everybody has a treadmill and you don't really need to go purchase one. We have the beautiful outdoors. It's actually kind of a treat to walk outside now. But there are other ideas for physical activity, and it's really important to think about keeping a well-rounded exercise plan. So as I told you, as we talked about, was a walking program, which is our aerobic program. But don't forget about strengthening, which can help build muscle, flexibility, and other types of exercises. There's some really cool things that are out there that I noticed, and I know David has posted them on your web page, but there's some nice virtual exercise programs. It's kind of fun. I tried some out the other day in the comfort of my own living room, and I actually did some dancing and stuff. So it's really kind. So you do have other options for physical activity. You don't have to just walk. Again, going back to that first poll, you have to do what you like because we want you to stick to it because consistency is critical. So how can you add more activity just to your daily life? And that's really kind of easy to do if you start paying attention to what you're doing. I always tell people to park farther away if they can. This is a great way to get more steps in. I've actually had my father, when he's gardening, I have him bring each tool to where he needs to be one at a time so he gets more activity and more steps in. You might think about taking a walk after dinner instead of watching TV. How many of us have this great dinner and then we go into the living room and we sit and we watch TV? Think about taking 200 steps after dinner. You'll feel better, you'll get some more steps in, and it will help with your digestion. Here's the bottom line. You need to sit less and move more. So a good trick or a little tip that I can give you is we're all watching a little more TV these days. And while you're watching TV, every time a commercial comes on, do 10 reps of some activity. You'll be surprised. By the end of that show, you're going to have 30 to 60 reps already under your belt. So again, before I leave this slide, I just think it's really important to think about the mantra of sit less, move more. And I also like to tell people, beware of the chair. So we talked about in the earlier slide how to reactivate your program, how to get back on your schedule, make it a habit. And one of the things that we didn't talk about that is really important is you need to track your progress. And how you can do that is you can use activity trackers. They're very popular now, and a lot of people have them. But if you don't have an activity tracker, there's no problem. You can do an activity diary where you log your exercise sessions. Or in what I do, and what I actually find is very helpful, is on my refrigerator, I have a calendar. And I just get so much reward when I cross out the days that I've done my exercise program. Not only do I see my progress, see how I'm doing, but it just makes me feel good. And that brings me back to my last point that I want you to think about. Celebrate success. You guys are doing great. Get out there and move. And that is really good. Don't forget to take time and say, hey, I did all right. Celebrate your success. So as we end, you know that there's much benefits of reactivating your exercise program. Regular exercise can reduce the severity of Parkinson's disease symptoms, and being active can help you have more stamina and simply feel better about yourself and about life. So I included some resources that I used when I was looking through these slides, and David had told me that they are actually posted on your website, so you have links to these resources. They're excellent. And I'd like to just thank you all for your attention. I know it's a beautiful day, and I'm hoping you're just eager to